Yo, what is going on, guys? My name is JasonJabby, and today we're back with another video, and today we're doing something a little bit different. Today we're going to be asking ChatGPT to give us some baseball questions. So here we are, this is ChatGPT. I've already got a question, so bang, can you give me 10 tough to answer opinionated baseball questions to provoke interesting discussion? So let's see what it gives us. Okay, so here are the 10 questions. Let's go through them. So number 1, should Major League Baseball lower the mound again? I'm going to say no. For those who don't know, in 1968 or something, the mound was lowered because pitchers were like too good. Guys like Bob Gibson were just absolutely dominant. And part of that was that the mound was a little higher. They kind of had this more downward angle when they were pitching, and that made pitches harder to hit. So they lowered the mound to make the pitchers like kind of not as good. So do I think they should lower it again? This is kind of interesting because pitchers are really good today, arguably kind of too good. One single team can have like 10 guys throwing like 99. Then that does make you think like, is this too hard, right, for the hitters? But I'm going to say no, because I think that pitchers and teams are kind of hitting a breaking point of, yeah, you can have guys who throw like 99, but that is resulting in a lot of guys getting hurt. So pitchers throwing harder is kind of contributing to pitchers being kind of too good, if you will, but I don't think that we should lower the mound. I think that naturally the kind of velocity creep is going to kind of break under itself, because like I said, you could have guys throwing 103 miles per hour, but if they have to get Tommy John surgeries every other year, then it's no big deal. Does that make sense? So, I don't know. I would say, should Major League Baseball lower the mound again? I would say no. Number 2, is it time for a salary cap in Major League Baseball? I would say no. I know that the MLB owners would really like that because it would be a great reason to not pay their players as much. The thing is, the MLB players, the Players Association would never want that, because that means a guy like Shohei Ohtani probably wouldn't have gotten $700 million or something like that if there was some sort of cap. So the players would never go for that. And on the flip side, the owners would never go for a salary floor. Let's say a team has to spend like $100 million or something. Instead, now you see teams like the A's or the Guardians or something, they're choosing to not spend much. Therefore, they don't have to lose as much money. Is it time for a salary cap? I would say no. Is there time for a salary floor? I would say yes, but I don't think one is going to happen without the other. So is it time for a salary cap? I would say no. Number 3, which is more important, advanced analytics or the eye test when evaluating players? I would say advanced analytics. The eye test can be deceiving. You can look at a guy, for instance, like an Omar Vizquel. You just watch that guy play. Holy crap, this guy comes off as like a great player, but when you really look down at his WAR and his hitting stats, it's like he's not as valuable as you think. Advanced analytics, there's a reason why I think it's become so popular, is that it works. There's a reason why all teams are investing a lot in sabermetrics and whatnot, because the advanced stats give you a better picture of which players to play where and why and whatnot. So, however, I will say that the eye test can be useful, especially in kind of like short-term clutch situations like the postseason. Managers can kind of go with their gut instead of relying purely on analytics sometimes, and I think it can work out. But which is more important, advanced analytics or the eye test? I would say advanced analytics. Should MLB make the designated hitter rule permanent in both leagues? If it were up to me, if I were the commissioner right now, I might get rid of the DH from both leagues. I just don't love the idea that the pitcher doesn't have to hit, and I don't love the fact that there's a player like a Giancarlo Stanton who can just sit on the bench and then go up to hit 4 or 5 times. I don't know, it just doesn't feel like pure. It doesn't feel like proper baseball, if that makes sense. It probably doesn't, but I don't love the idea of the fact that a DH doesn't have to play the field, basically, and the fact that the pitcher doesn't have to hit. However, in practice, there's kind of no doubting that the DH has led to funner baseball. For instance, Shohei Ohtani. I mean, if there was no DH, Shohei Ohtani, I guess, wouldn't have even played this year. From a purist standpoint, I would say I'm not a fan of it, but from a practical, kind of pragmatic, actual view of it being in practice, I do like the DH. So should MLB make the DH rule permanent? Practically, I would say yes, but theoretically, I would say no. If that doesn't make sense, but should the DH rule be permanent in both leagues? I would say yeah. Is the postseason format too long, or is it just right? So again, this might be kind of controversial, but I really liked how the MLB postseason was like 5 years ago, where it was 10 teams that make the postseason. It would be each division winner in the West, East, Central, and there would be 2 wildcard teams who would then play each other, and then they would go on to face one of the division winners. I thought that was really good. I thought that made a lot of sense. 10 teams total. I do know that a lot of teams like the new postseason format because it gives more teams a chance to get in. I'm not a big fan of the bye week. I know this year the bye week was actually good for the number 1 seeds like the Dodgers and the Yankees, but I'm not a huge fan of the bye week. I don't love that there is one division winner in each league that has to play in a wildcard series. Like the Brewers won their division, but they got very quickly kind of eliminated by a wildcard Mets team. So I'm not a big fan. I'm also not a big fan of the 3-game wildcard series. I really liked the 1-game winner-take-all wildcard game between 2 wildcard teams. I thought that was cool. This might be like old man yells at clouds type thing, but I really like the 10-team, 2 wildcard teams format. So this new format, it's not the worst thing. And obviously it led to a World Series for my team, the Dodgers, this year, but I would say go back to how it was before. Are no-hitters overrated in terms of individual achievement? I would say combined no-hitters are pretty, I don't want to say boring, but combined no-hitters, not that big of a deal. I don't even know. I feel like that's too strong. Combined no-hitter is like orders of magnitude less impressive than a no-hitter, or certainly a perfect game. Like, for instance, like how many combined no-hitters can you really think of? I could think of like a few. I think we had one in like Mexico or something. And I know the Astros combined no-hit the Phillies in the World Series. It's just not that big of a deal. The fact that pitchers are taken out a lot faster, teams are much more likely to use the bullpen, players often get hurt. It used to be common for a pitcher to go like 110 pitches, 120 pitches. That doesn't really happen that much anymore. So when you see a player do that, or at least go into the ninth inning, it's quite rare. So I would say combined no-hitters are kind of overrated, but by one person, like a Michael Lorenzen throwing a no-hitter, that's insanely impressive. Combined no-hitters are kind of overrated, but normal no-hitters are not overrated. Which is more important to a team, a dominant ace or a deep bullpen? I might be totally wrong, but I absolutely think a deep bullpen is way more important than a dominant ace. It doesn't matter if you have 5 dominant aces, if your bullpen kind of blows it every time, you're going to lose. This might be kind of an AI kind of question where, I don't know, to me, this answer is obvious. You know, the Mets had Jacob deGrom, who was an insanely good player, and I think they missed the postseason a few times when he was at his peak. Same thing for the Dodgers. The Dodgers had Cy Young, Clayton Kershaw for many years, still lost, didn't even make it to the postseason. So I'm not saying those teams are bad because of the bullpen, but I'm certain it was part of it. Which is more important to a team, a dominant ace or a deep bullpen? I absolutely think a deep bullpen. Should MLB embrace a pitch clock for all games, or is it disrupting the essence of the sport? This question would have been more relevant like a few years ago, before the pitch clock was implemented. I guess I could just interpret the question as, what do I think about the pitch clock? I think the pitch clock was brilliant. I honestly think that the pitch clock was huge. I'm not a huge fan of Rob Manfred. I think he did a poor job with the Astros scandal and whatnot. I also think that he could do more, for instance, with TV stuff. I saw something where you need like 10 different services in order to watch every game from your favorite team, right? You need like Apple Plus and Peacock and Amazon Prime and this, that, and the other, and YouTube TV. You should be able to just buy like MLB TV and be able to watch every game. But something great that I think Manfred did was the pitch clock. Do I think it messed up some people? Sure. For instance, like a Pedro Baez, right? Famous for pitching really slow. Maybe the pitch clock really messed him up. But if you can't pitch in a timely fashion, I think that's kind of your problem. You can look back at old baseball clips and they take like legitimate like 30 seconds, like 45 seconds, like 60 seconds in between pitches just to walk around and rub the ball and kick their cleats and whatever. It's like in modern day baseball, the pitch clock is definitely better. I'll rephrase the question. Was the pitch clock good for baseball? I would say yes. Should Major League Baseball increase efforts to address the issue of player injuries and player safety? Okay, this is a great question because I kind of touched on it earlier. I do think injuries are at like a friggin' all-time high, not just in baseball, but also in basketball and football. Like players are getting hurt a ton. I think part of that is teams are more cautious. I think nowadays teams will pull a player a lot quicker than before. For instance, Nolan Ryan had very little injuries. Do I think in reality Nolan Ryan was not hurt that much? No, I think he was banged up a lot. I think whatever team he was on just told him to pitch through it, or Nolan Ryan himself kind of forced himself to pitch through it. I think teams, like I said, are more cautious. If a player has a little pain, if it has a little tweak of something, they'll take him out, they'll rest him on the bench or whatever for a week or something. Players are pushing themselves to the limit more than ever, right? A player throwing 104 didn't even exist like 40 years ago. Now that's somewhat common. So players are kind of pushing the limits of the human body. And I think that's kind of resulting in higher injuries and whatnot. I don't know what Major League Baseball could do. It's all up to the teams. It's all up to the players. It's just also there's some freak accidents, like Ronald Acuna Jr. Hurting his ACL. All he was doing was running back to second base. How could any team or Major League Baseball have done anything to not have Ronald Acuna get hurt in that situation? I think over time, this is just gonna kind of work out where teams kind of figure out what to do with their own injuries. For instance, the Dodgers, man, we had a ton of injuries, especially on our pitching staff. Our injury guys need to work something out. Our pitching guys, obviously we won the World Series, but there's something in the way we pitch which gets our guys hurt. That's got to be addressed. So I think it's up to the team. I don't think MLB itself should do anything. The teams need to look into it more. And the last one, what is the true value of a World Series ring? Does it define a player's legacy? This is a good question. I would say a World Series ring definitely adds to a player's legacy. I don't think that the lack of a World Series ring really hurts a player's legacy. For instance, I just looked at best MLB players without a ring. You got Ty Cobb, Barry Bonds, Mike Piazza, Votto, well, Kershaw shouldn't be there. Ted Williams, Barry Bonds. These are some of the all-time great players. Does the fact that they don't have a ring hurt them? Maybe a little. Baseball is far more of a team sport than like an NBA or an NFL. If LeBron James went his whole career without having a championship, I think that would hurt his legacy because basketball is much more of a sport where one player can affect a team a lot more. Barry Bonds, Ted Williams, these are literally some of the greatest hitters of all time, and they couldn't get their teams to win a World Series. I don't think that's their fault. I think that's because one player has a lot less impact on the game. I think it looks great on a player's resume, like Yogi Berra having 10 rings. That's insane. I think that super adds to his legacy. So does it define a player's legacy? In Yogi Berra's case, it kind of did, but the true value of a World Series ring, not as important as like individual stats. What's more impressive, for instance, a player winning 3 World Series or a player winning 3 MVPs? I definitely think a player winning 3 MVPs is much more impressive than winning 3 World Series. So that's my take on that. So anyways, guys, that's the video. That was fun. I made this video because I want to make more videos, but I don't love scripting videos. Most of my videos on this channel have been scripted, and I love those. Those are my best videos, I think. Those videos, I think, take a long time. I'm not a huge fan of the scripting process. So I just wanted to do a video like this where I just put my camera up here and I just talk to you guys. I just completely unscripted, just talk. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. My name is JasonJabby, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.